Well, hello there, and welcome to episode 2 of the Dauntless discussion, where we talk about everything Dauntless. Episode 1 was a huge success by my standards. It made for some really good conversations and it got some great feedback, so thank you to everyone who stopped by. As you can see here, we're about to say goodbye to the Ramsgiving event, where the Gruckrucks descended upon the Shattered Isles much to the despair of these poor Rams. As we say goodbye to the Ramsgiving event, we'll look to the near future for the Frostfall event, but there really isn't much else in 2023. However, it's not all bad, because in the summer of 2024 we've got this huge update coming out where the developers plan on completely revamping Dauntless, and it gives us a lot of really interesting information for us to analyse, and that's exactly what we're going to do in today's video. We're going to look at the new and improved Dauntless Community Hub roadmap, we're going to look at several of the dev blogs such as the weapon swapping mechanic, the new game mode which is likely going to be replacing the current hunting grounds, as well as Q&As with the development team and the player base, and many other things such as the results of last week's giveaway for that official Dauntless art book. So, stay tuned to check that out. Let's get started and dive right in. Okay, so let's just dive right into the new and improved Community Hub. And as you can see, they've completely deleted the old roadmap and replaced it with this roadmap. And there's not a lot to look forward to this year, let's be honest, apart from these dev blogs, AMAs and Q&As with a developer regarding the big update coming next summer. So if we just look closer at this, as you can see, there's a sale on the Dauntless merch. There's not a lot of merch left for Dauntless. They've got the collector's edition, which I have, and we have a hoodie as well, so really not a lot left in terms of Dauntless merch. The sale makes you wonder if they're phasing it out or if they plan on adding new merch, which would be interesting because it's been a very long time since Dauntless had any new merch whatsoever. And then moving on, we have the Ramsgiving event. The 16th and 30th of November, which is just about to end. In fact, it ends tomorrow at time of recording. Ramsgiving event, I mean, once you've got the crown, there's nothing really that I fancy too much from that, but that's just a personal thing. And then we have Dr. Priani's research event, just another double XP boost, and you earn bonus Rams, which they have every year. And then we have the next devlog, which the date's to be decided, although that's already clear that that's not going to be happening in November. Moving into December, things get a little bit more interesting, I guess. You've got another hunt pass, cosmetic hunt pass. This one, again, is just, it's just an old one that they're bringing back again. But personally, I never got that one back in the day, so I'm kind of glad that's actually coming. I know a lot of people are quite sick of these hunt passes just repeating themselves all the time, but I'm quite glad this one's coming back because I didn't get that one back when it came out very, very early in Dauntless's life. And then moving on further, we have the new Gauntlet season, which will be good. I'm quite enjoying these trackers from the Gauntlet season, so that's something to look forward to, I guess. And then we have Cat's weapon training from the 8th and the 10th of December. Again, just double weapon XP, just a boost. And then 2024's Frostfall event. I always enjoy Frostfall. I like Ramsgate, looking a bit more Christmassy. But I'm assuming, just like the Dark Harvest, just like Ramsgiving, it's going to be completely the same as the last 2 years prior, which is a little bit of a shame. However, the Silver Sword event is coming back again, and I'm quite glad of this because I only think I got about 50% of the way through that last time, so I'm glad that's coming back. The Silver Sword is obviously, you progress it through grinding through, collecting the parts. It's something that can take a very long time. It can be quite a grind, but it pays off because it's quite a good weapon to have once you've got it. Silver Sword is yours to keep even when the event ends, of course, but it can only be crafted and enhanced during the event, so you really want to get this done before the event ends. And then we have the Bosun Bounty event, where you can gain bounty tokens. Nothing too exciting here, they've done it many times in the past. So moving on, we have the dev blogs and the developer AMAs again, but considering they're probably not going to make the ones in November, makes you wonder if they'll manage the ones in December. And then moving into January, February, March, April, May, June, not a lot on the horizon. June, July is when that big update is due to launch. So, going back to the dev blogs, which we will be focusing on, and in my last video we talked about the road ahead, the first dev blog. So let's move on to the second one, the Shattered Isles dev blog, all about weapons and weapon swaps. Hey Slayers, welcome to the first of our monthly dev vlogs discussing ongoing development and work for the Shattered Isles. Today's blog is all about weapons, and the system change that will allow you to equip more than one weapon and swap between weapons during combat. Weapons. So weapons are an integral part of gameplay in Dauntless. Currently most of the same types tend to provide a very similar gameplay experience. Some unique effects make certain weapons more powerful than others, but many of these effects can be quite similar. With the use of cells, omni-cells and specials, you could essentially turn most weapons of the same type into another of the same. This leads to low amounts of true options, since a best way to play emerges with less fun and discoverability as you play through the game. We see some Slayers in our communities ask, should I craft or use weapon X, because the main differentiator is often net damage output. In such cases, Slayers often don't factor in how enjoyable it is to slay with that weapon, since the experience generally feels the same as all of the other weapons of the same type. As such, we decided to revisit the way that we think about weapons in Dauntless. We want each weapon to be unique and individual with specific abilities. Think of the distinct and unique ability each exotic weapon brings to the table. Each one has a set of abilities that give it truly outstanding playstyle. We want to bring this level of unique functionality and personality to every weapon you equip, and make choosing your weapons truly matter in different circumstances. In our upcoming The Shattered Isles update, you will be able to progress each weapon through more than 20 levels. Crafting each weapon will require parts from a number of related behemoths, not just a single one. Weapon crafting and upgrading will be discussed in more detail in a later blog. When faced with the different challenges, your choice of weapons will lead you to more specific tailored solutions. Our goal is for you to create a truly unique playstyle of your own. So weapon swap. With the shift in our approach towards weapons, it makes sense to introduce a new and exciting feature. Weapon swapping. Weapon swapping will allow you to get creative and further optimise your builds for all of the unique situations you may face in the Shattered Isles. The why. As we developed Dauntless over the years, we realised that we were making weapons of any type perform essentially all of the things weapons need to do. We did not want you to get the parts you simply need because of your weapon choice. However, this resulted in weapons becoming more and more homogeneous. We ended up having some strange situations, like allowing non-bladed weapons to cut off tails, or letting non-blunt weapons stagger behemoths. As we move towards the individual unique weapons, equipping two weapons and having the ability to swap between them will allow you to create endless variety of inspired builds. You'll be able to put more thought into the preparation and overall balance of your build. This also allows us to present you with more weapon-specific challenges in behemoth encounters and other hunts. Your weapon choices become significant because each weapon is a unique kit of abilities. For example, two different swords can offer you very different gameplay experience, so you have good reasons to equip both. In our early internal playtests, we have already seen some team members using the Captain's Grip collectible speed buff to give themselves super fast sword attacks and capitalise on the relentless pressure of the chain blades and Hammer's aggressive cross combo to stay on top of mobile behemoths. We're looking forward to seeing all kinds of new archetypes and playstyles that will emerge from the ability to weapon swap. Design goals. We wanted to get back into some of Dauntless's roots. where we reward fighting game-style combos that take critical planning and skill to perform. We also want to expand build options in ways that allow us to design weapons with specific roles that create behemoths that will present you with unique challenges. Another point we want to lean into was the increased Slayer customization. You can be an axe main, but now you can explore an additional vector of personalization by adding another weapon. What changes will you see in your playstyle when you select axe sword versus axe hammer, for example? These different weapon-based identities can be fun and exciting for you to explore. Community feedback also lets us know that you wanted more weapon variety, along with more weapon options. Once we started considering the idea of equipping more than one weapon and swapping between them, our animators and designers began cooking up a myriad of fun ideas for attacks that could trigger a weapon swap. Attaching weapon swaps to combos and making them powerful moves requiring skill came about organically, and this is how the cross combos were born. You can read more about cross combos in the section below. One of the challenges we ran into was designing weapon swap combos involving repeaters. Since repeaters do not have combos like other weapons, we took inspiration from the Twin Suns, allowing repeaters to cross combo with spinning hail of bullets and fleet-footed dashes that let you pass safely through behemoth attacks or reposition for a new angle during a fight. The how. You will be able to equip up to 2 weapons in your loadout, both of which will have their full functionality. You can select weapons of different types or even 2 of the same types of weapon. Some massive weapon effects may be shared between both, while other active weapon effects such as the Charog's Code of Fire will only work with the weapon that is currently in hand. Weapons will gain their meters or charges independently and preserve those charges while the weapon is not in hand. There are 3 ways in which you can swap weapons during combat. While a weapon is sheathed, press the weapon swap button to switch between your 2 weapons instantly. This is the simplest, cost-free way to perform a weapon swap. While a weapon is unsheathed, press the weapon swap button to switch between your 2 weapons. This automatically performs a light attack of your other weapon as you switch into it. There is a small stamina cost for this, but it can lead into weapon combos that normally start with a light attack for the swap weapon. While a weapon is unsheathed, perform a combo that can lead into a weapon swap, known as a cross combo. New combo routes have been added to weapons that can lead to a cross combo. Cross combos inflict significant damage and provide a large burst of specialised damage for the weapon you swap into. So what's next? We will share more details about weapons and weapon swapping as we progress. Keep an eye out for more news between now and the big launch next summer. Stay up to date on all our developmental news, in-game and community activities and more at our brand new Dauntless Community Hub in September, bringing back both the Silver Sword, the Golden Claws weapon event, plus a selection of weekend bonus events. We are also preparing a special all-new cosmetic gift pack for each and every one of you. So how do we feel about that? Personally, I think it's encouraging. I'll be honest, to begin with, I wasn't really too fussed about the idea of weapon swapping. It just didn't excite me at all, but after reading through that, it makes sense, you know? Weapons serving a function really makes a lot of sense to me. For example, currently, you can use any weapon for any function in Dauntless. You know, you can use a blunt weapon to chop apart off an Asher. That doesn't make any sense. How can a blunt weapon cut apart from a behemoth? So having weapons to have specific functions makes a lot of sense. And maybe you want to use your hammer and you still want to chop parts off of behemoths. You've got that ability to do that now because you can switch weapons. So that makes a lot of sense. And being able to factor it into combos or just switching at will whenever you want, it makes a lot of sense. And I think it's quite a good move actually now, looking into it in a bit more detail. I think it really begs the question, when is the next weapon coming? You know, we have the warpike, we have the sword, we have the hammer, we have the axe, we have the repeaters, we have the chain blades. Don't think I forgot anything there. Yeah, we need another weapon, and probably another ranged weapon to switch things up a little bit, personally. Like that bow, they talked about a bow. That would be the perfect time to bring that along. It mixes things up a little bit, it adds something new. But overall, I think this looks really positive. I think it could, if utilised correctly, could make hunts far more exciting. Okay, so moving on to Reddit, where we have the Q&A with the developers and the community regarding weapons and weapon swapping. And we won't go over every question like we did last time, because we're doing 2 completely different AMAs on this blog, and I don't want to spend too much time on the first one. So the first question is asked by Matthew0275, who asks, with each weapon going back to unique specialisation, do we know what weapons will be unable to break parts? Kira Phoenix Lab answers, we're still figuring out the exact list, but the idea is that blunt weapons won't be able to cut tails and slashing piercing weapons wouldn't be able to smash horns, which is exactly what I stated just a second ago. I think this is maybe a bit inconvenient, but probably makes sense and will make hunting a little bit more interesting. Blackjack MKV, who asks, will running each weapon on its own still be viable? For example, if I feel like only using the war pike, is it going to prevent me from fighting how I still do now? For example, being unable to break parts, only being able to wound damage, etc. Aurelia answers by stating, it's safe to say that weapons will not necessarily be able to do it all like they do at the moment, or at the very least, they will be greatly diminished in effectiveness. The goal is that the weapons you have should be the best at the things they do, and every weapon should bring something to the table. I can see why some people might worry about that a little bit, because people enjoy the consistency and comfort of using the same weapon all the time. But then again, going back to the fact that it makes sense that different weapons should have different positives and negatives. Friendly Gaming Anon asks, with weapons being cut confirmed, what will be the fate of event weapons such as Silver Sword, Golden Claws, current exotics and current legendary weapons? I get basic stuff like Quill Shot being replaced, but will these higher end weapons also get replaced as well, or will they just get reworked? Jordan Pow Pow answers, silver and gold will have equivalents in the new world, not the exact, but counterparts. Exotics will be more important than ever. All weapons will be like their exotics are today. Legendary weapons really are just like anything else, but have a kick-ass legendary ability. Oif asks, will there be new mods with specials in the future, especially for Ether Strikers, since they never received another set like the ones you buy from Lady Luck? And Aurelia answers, there will be a new Striker special. Wizard Weed asks, how will this affect balancing with monsters and weapons? I mean, will monsters be stronger or weapons be weaker in any way, and if so, how? Aurelia answers with, player personal power fantasy and the cool factor they bring to the table should generally be going slightly up with this. However, we're also looking at behemoth improvements across the board, both to AI and movesets, with the goal that overall kill time should go up. The current time to kill and fights feel more like a call and response between the Slayer and the behemoth. Jordan Pow Pow also answers, stating, expect behemoths to be stronger overall than they are right now. I expect total fight times to increase slightly across the board. Drylin asks, this update will finally include Umbral and Radiant effects for weapons. Will this finally include Umbral and Radiant effect for weapons? Aurelia answers with, answered elsewhere, I'm not ready to commit to this yet, but is one of our goals. Phoenix asks, will there be real incentives to swap in weapons, or will it end up being a niche thing that happens when you accidentally hit a key? Phoenix Lab answers stating that crossover combos will do big damage and look radical. Not all weapons will be able to cut tails or break horns, so if you're looking for specific parts, being able to swap will help you get it. Similarly, if you're trying to wound or stun a behemoth, swapping will help you do that. Hurricane the Tiger asks, is the weapon swapping going to be limited to only 2 weapons at a time, being able to switch between multiple? This will be the feature that will be unlocked for the Slayer's Path or available right out the gate. On top of this, will we be able to switch to 2 different weapons of the same group but different types, such as switching between 2 different swords or 2 different war pikes, opposed to only being able to switch to 2 weapons. Aurelia answers, 2 weapons at this time. You have a 2 weapon swap in your loadout window. It will be unlocked likely via a quest and or the Slayer's Path, and yes, you can equip 2 of the same class of weapons. Hyde 360 asks a very good question. If you have your weapons in different levels, how is the swap going to work? when you are on an island with a weapon level cap. Jordan Pow answers stating you will be instantly yeeted into the sky and land back in Ramsgate. Just kidding. If you're on the island, you're good. Fair enough. Essa asks, I have a question please. Are you going to reset all weapons? If so, what happens to all the players who have already reforged 20 plus times? I have everything in my Slayer's path. It is 100% complete. Is that changing, or am I just adding, or are we just adding more stuff? Because all of this changing, why not just make Dauntless 2? I'm concerned because I worked my player off good to get where she is at. Jordan Pow answers, we are 100% taking time to plan how Behemoth's progression will carry over into new systems. The Slayer's Path bonuses from reforging will remain important, and the borders earned will be earned in other ways. You will not log in to find you're back to level 1, but you will also likely not be at max level for any weapon since the overall ceiling is being raised. Each reforge will be honoured and carried over in the new system. How exactly we'll be discussing the plan in an AMA in the future. Hurricane the Tiger asks, how will the introduction of this new mechanic be implemented and taught new and veteran players? Will there be a new section in the tutorial that all players will get to try, or will veteran players be left to figure it out for themselves with brief explanation? Or will there be something else altogether? Kazakh answers stating the current goal is for weapon swaps will be unlocked fairly early in the game, but also to have the moment where players learn to use one weapon and then a second weapon together with it. The experience is still being designed, but we probably won't have a weapon swap unlocked for anyone by default, having to unlock as a quest, tutorial or other option. And then we have Bok408, who I think will make the last one for this. I know roughly what the majority of the next update will be, but do you intend to introduce any proper side activities? Like, I know housing will most likely never happen, but I do remember fishing almost being finished before suddenly being scrapped. So this person's going off topic, but it's something I'm quite curious about. Jordan Pow states that there is lots we haven't talked about yet. You don't know everything. Side activities, potentially some, but most will be related to hunting. What we are planning to focus on is making hunting more dynamic and exciting rather than load in, find a behemoth, kill it, repeat. You may stumble across a few other things that grab your attention. And breathe. That was a pretty good Q&A, and it shared a lot of pretty good questions, with many players who have similar opinions and concerns as I do. To split up the video a little bit, I thought I'd share one of the builds that I've been using. In fact, it's the build that I just used in that Frost escalation there. Now, I am not amongst the elite players in Dauntless, but I do have some pretty good builds and I can hold my own. This is a build that I made recently. It's a very defensive build, but it allows you to utilise that defence for offence by breaking your shields, increasing your attack when you need to. The weapon I use is the Cold Hell crafted from the Urska, which is one of, if not the worst legendary weapons, which allows you to create a frost shield that blocks hostile projectiles, which is very underpowered in my opinion. However, being that it's legendary, it allows you to pick any cell which suits this build, and you can also bond it with the Frostwheel's Rip, which is an integral part of this build. Frostwheel's Rip gives you +3 galvanised, and after using your lantern ability, creates a geyser that frequently deals 65 frost damage, but more importantly, it gives you that stackable 125 health shield that lasts for 25 seconds with maximum 600 shield, so you want to be adding as much shield as possible to this build. And the cells I've added to the Cold Hell is the Pulse Cell and the Zeal Cell, with the concussive payload as the special. The body armour I've went for is the Core of Ice, which gives you +3 Fortress, and I've attached the +3 Earth Cell to that. The helm I've went for is the Wolf Mane, which gives you +3 Aegis, and the Earth Cell attached to it. For the arms I've went for the Chronogrips, which comes with +3 Pulse, and I've attached a +3 Aegis Cell to it. And for the legs, I went for the Agaric Roots, which comes with +3 Fortress, and I've attached a +3 Strategic Cell to it. Now, tonics can be very important when you're wanting to deal high damage with a single hit. A 40% increase to your wound damage or an 18% increase to damage dealt makes a really big difference to higher amounts. For the Omni Cell, I've opted for the Bastion, which gives you a Shield Nova which allows you to consume all your shields and deal 175% of the amount consumed to nearby enemies with a cooldown of 30 seconds, and the passive ability allows you to increase all shields applied to you by 15%, and upon dealing damage you have a chance to grant yourself a 25 shield for 25 seconds with a maximum of 500 shields. For the Lantern, it has to be Skarn's Defiance, which allows you to deal 2500 terra damage to nearby enemies for 10 seconds, but also generates 30 hit point shields per second that expire after 25 seconds with a maximum of 600 shields, and I've attached the +3 Zeal Cell to that. Okay, so looking at my perk summary, we've got the +6 Aegis, which increases all shields received by 20%, and after gaining 1000 shields from any source, ignore the next incoming hit within the next 15 seconds. Then the +6 Air Cell, hitting a behemoth with a weapon attack while shields are over 200 will detonate all of your shields, depleting them and dealing damage equal to 400% of the value of the removed shield. After detonation, your shield will gain a 100 health shield. Then the +6 Fortress, after not taking hostile damage for 10 seconds, gain a 135 health shield, which stacks 3 times. The +6 Pulse, every 5th hit with your weapon is a critical strike, plus 15% critical strike damage. +6 Zeal, which gives you that 65% Lantern ability effectiveness. And on top of that, +3 Galvanised, for every 100 shield, gain 1% bonus critical strike chance. And +3 Strategist, after dodging through an attack, grant a 100 health shield to all Slayers. So as you can see, the aim of this build is to create as high a shield as quickly as possible. And then by using the Bastion Omni Cell at the right time, you can cause very high levels of damage by consuming your shields and then dealing it as area damage. I did think the Earth Cell would clash with that, and it does actually sound better because it does 400% damage when you consume your shields rather than the just 175% damage that the Bastion Omnicell causes. However, I always find that the Omnicell creates more damage. I think it's because it's area damage, whereas the Air Cell is just a single hit, and it just seems to cause a little bit less damage. I took that out the build, but I feel like it's actually better within it. So each hit, which is over 200 shields, the Air Cell always consumes that shield and creates high levels of damage. And then when your Omni Cell is charged up, I find that I can create as much shield as possible by not hitting anything for a little while and then using the Omni Cell ability to create a very good hit. I should also state that this build works extremely well with Defiant Stone perk, which you can get from Escalations. The Defiant Stone perk consumes all of your health but gives you an enormous amount of shields, and when you consume all that shields and dish it out as damage, you can usually just one hit any behemoth. Okay, so with that out of the way, it's time to return back to the developer blogs, and this time we're looking at the return of the pursuits, which is very interesting. Okay, so hey Slayers, welcome to the second instalment of our monthly devlogs, discussing ongoing development work for the Shattered Isles. In today's blog, we will be discussing a revitalised game mode that is being prototyped to potentially replace the current hunting grounds and introduce some new inhabitants of the Shattered Isles. So a new take on pursuits. Coming in the summer of 2024, pursuits will be making a return with planned changes that will make them bigger and better than before. We are still in the very early stages of development for this game mode, but we want to share some high-level ideas and a few of the things that we have been working on, to allow you to share your feedback and suggestions with us as we continue to iterate and improve on our designs. Our goal is to introduce new encounters and new ways for you to defend the Shattered Isles, all while keeping the focus on the targeted behemoth hunting, bringing you valuable rewards that will make every hunt worth your while. So targeted behemoths. With pursuits, you would be able to choose a specific behemoth to hunt. Each time you embark on a hunt, we know that the way the hunting grounds is currently set up can result in a lot of unnecessary repetition just to fight a specific behemoth. One of the challenges we currently face is figuring how to make this main game mode fun and rewarding for players that have very different goals. Ones that will want to just serial in on killing the targeted behemoth and leave, and ones that enjoy exploring the island for other encounters and objectives. So rewarding objectives. Each island might also present a host of unique side quests and new encounters for you to discover. Ideas we're exploring include protecting explorers, helping researchers discover new secrets about behemoths and shattered isles, and defending structures from rampaging behemoths. Side quests may have themes that allow you to explore the world of Dauntless more deeply, so you might find ones that involve helping Zelia Farslayer track a dangerous behemoth, gathering data for Dr. Priani, or protecting Granny Strega as she gathers some herbs. You could potentially earn quest rewards and power-ups to help with your behemoth pursuit. New encounters may include things like other wandering behemoths and other adversarial creatures you can fight, behemoths attacking NPCs or structures on the island, shrines, and more. These encounters may change with every pursuit, so each trip outside Ramsgate might bring you novel new combinations of challenges to overcome, all of which contribute directly to levelling up and improving your weapons. One of the new creatures we have designed so far presents you with a stealth attack. At first glance they look like gatherables. You can interact with one on the island. When you interact with them, you will either get a reward immediately or trigger a creature that you can fight for greater reward. Note that, unlike the lesser creatures you might encounter on the hunting grounds before, these new creatures have far more complex mechanics. Each fight is not only challenging, but also rewards you handsomely. Multiple difficulty levels. Each of the islands and pursuits will likely have multiple difficulty levels. You may find similar behemoths as the difficulty increase, but not necessarily the same ones always. For instance, one island might have an Embermane at tier 1, but one a Bloodfire or Embermane at tier 4. To unlock the different islands and their difficulty levels, you would have to complete new main quests. A whole new world. The Shattered Isles are under constant threat for the behemoth attack, and we are currently working on a world map that will finally show off the frontier of the Shattered Isles in a way that you have never seen before. We will share more details about pursuits as we progress. As we're still iterating and making design changes, the points we mention above are subject to change, so let us know your thoughts and feedbacks in the upcoming AMA, or anytime on Twitter, Reddit and Discord. We value your input as we continue to make changes based on your feedback, in addition to what we have already planned. Okay, so back to Reddit. For the AMA Q&A regarding this, I shared my thoughts on this in episode 1, regarding the replacement of hunting grounds, where I stated that I believe a new game mode would be an improvement, but however, I believe they should keep the hunting grounds in some aspect, in some way, but that was just my opinion. So if we look to Reddit, we'll get some other people's opinions and input. So Manu Jiva asks, will the reintroduced pursuit be endless, or it ends once the targeted behemoth is slayed? Any plans on upgrading the current game engine, so let's say Unreal Engine 5 or another? And Kira from Phoenix Lab states that the current thought is that killing a targeted behemoth would end the mode and then score your pursuit, and yep, we're working on moving to Unreal 5. The current thinking, according to Aurelia, is that these pursuits would be finite. You would know about how long they were going to take, and they would have a clear defined endpoint. Slayer of the Queen asks, are Arkstones coming back, and can we expect to see behemoths running away from arenas again? Will pursuits be able to contain multiple monsters and hunts, kind of like a hybrid between the old pursuits and the current hunting grounds? Jordan Powpow answers stating, no, but we're looking at part upgrade materials in general. Likely not, it usually felt more like a chore in practice. Yeah, they potentially could, perhaps a weaker behemoth, perhaps a puzzle or a locked treasure chest, or a group of small creatures guarding a shrine of power, etc. Hoxton Not Houston asks, is the new game mode a redesign of the old hunts to before the hunting grounds? Jordan Powpow states, we're taking a lot of inspiration from those old pursuits. They had some good benefits, but wouldn't be exactly the same. Mickey Nicholas asks, are you bringing back patrols or something close to patrols? They admit that's the reason they first started getting hooked into Dauntless all those years ago. The fact that they had to look for Behemoth in the hunt on the map itself, not knowing which one would be specifically in patrols. Aurelia answers stating, we appreciate your thoughts. We're very likely to make it clear to you where the behemoth is in the new take on pursuits. If we had a system more like Monster Hunter World, Scout Flies and the like, then I think it would feel more meaningful to have to hunt the behemoth. As it was in the past though, it didn't feel much like a hunt to find the behemoth. You weren't using clues or intuition, it was a bit more of a random scatter that involved a lot of empty running. Twit asks, will there be special event pursuits for keystone behemoths? Say once a month a specific keystone behemoth becomes available in pursuit. Jordan Powpow states, an escalation is already a sort of pursuit, isn't it? Frickety Frock asks, are there going to be dual type behemoths, whether it be new variants of existing behemoths or new species altogether? Will weapon elements be more substantial effects on multiple behemoth types, like instead of blaze weapons only being able to affect those frost types? It is partially effective against, for instance, Umbral and Shock, but also partially resistant by Radiant, Terra and Neutral. There was mention that random island events where AI Slayers could be fighting behemoths. Is this possible we could have enemy factions of Slayers that side with the behemoths, even possibly PvP? Kira states that they love the idea of dual type behemoths. They're not something we're currently working on though. That we're planning to change the elemental weaknesses and strengths at the moment, and I would also like the idea of exploring the world through different hunter factions, but PvP is not what they're working on. Okay, Berries Picking asks, are hunting grounds being replaced completely, or is it just another game mode? After coming back to the game after a few years, I like that I can continuously hunt behemoths without having to go through load screens. Every time compared to the pursuits when the game first came out, getting rams and weapons and XP is so much more doable. Jordan Powpow answers stating part of the goal for this AMA was to get feedback like this, so no concrete plans are to replace it completely, which is good in my opinion. Aldrin Sov22 asks, you mentioned improvement in behemoth behaviours and interactivity. Does this mean we'll be getting a new mechanic similar to the ether geezers that allow us to jump on some behemoth backs? Aurelia answers, we aren't currently planning to expand on the behemoth mounting system beyond its current level, but definitely a possibility in the longer future. Almanar asks, how will this system interact with the islands that are already established to exist? Will each pursuit have random islands like they used to, have the same islands for the same behemoths always, or will some of the existing islands established by the hunting grounds be cut, or are you expecting to use them all in this mode? Jordan Powpow states all of the islands will have a home, potentially excluding the ones that are duplicates, and yes I am. Finally, Dragonborn, nice username, asks, hello, I'm glad to see you're taking feedback from players. I do at times get frustrated by the huge amount of behemoths I have to defeat before the one I'm after shows up, so precise behemoth hunts is a great idea. However, I'd be very saddened to see the hunting grounds disappear altogether. The Stay and Slay slogan was one of my favourite things about the Reforge update. Before then, I always wished I could stay and explore islands rather than just be locked to a timer. I also like that there are different random behemoths and fauna roaming around. I guess my question is there scope to keep a few hunting ground options, maybe just a handful rather than over a dozen, of the bigger and more detailed islands with a larger player population to give us that MMO feel? And then, the new addition of the pursuit style hunts is the added option. I'm also very excited to see new fauna and maybe lore locations. I enjoy anything that adds depth to the game. Kira answers stating, thanks, we want to bring depth to the world and the modes that the players enjoy the most. It's great to see love for the hunting grounds, so it'll definitely be something we consider and talk about. So I think it's now time to end this podcast. We've looked into a lot of really interesting new information from the developers on this new update that's coming in the summer of 2024. We've looked at the weapon swapping mechanic and how that seems to be a very, very positive aspect that they're going to be bringing and implementing into the game. And we've also looked at the new game mode. Okay, so looking at the positive and negative aspects of both of these subjects, weapon swapping in theory seems to be a great idea. Yes. Being able to equip two weapons allows the players to make much more elaborate and interesting builds, and having weapons that serve a more primary function is also probably frustrating to some, but it makes sense. However, the developers might be at risk of repeating many of the mistakes they made with the Reforge update, and that is, if they're completely redoing the weapon progression system, they might be undoing a lot of veteran and established players' hard work. For example, many players have reforged many times. Some players have created very elaborate and powerful builds that might no longer function, and I understand changes need to be made in a game like this, but if you constantly change the goalposts of a game, then you lose that identity, and a lot of players can get frustrated and just leave. And looking at the positive and negative aspects of the new game mode, I think there needs to be a new game mode. The hunting grounds is brilliant in my opinion, but it can be frustrating when you're hunting a specific behemoth. And allowing players to hunt a specific behemoth that they're after in a pursuit makes a lot of sense. It takes away a lot of the grind and a lot of the frustration. However, again, I feel like this is maybe the developer struggling to find an identity with the game. By changing the progression system, it can be frustrating, but also by changing the worlds in which we hunt. Is also frustrating, as many people do enjoy the hunting grounds, but I must say it's very encouraging to hear that the developers are listening to players on forums like Reddit. Allowing your loyal player base to have a say on the future of the game is one of the best things a dev company can do. And knowing that Phoenix Labs seem to be doing this is very encouraging. Dauntless is a game that I enjoy, it's a community that I am glad to be a part of, and it's gave me some of the best gaming moments I've had in my entire life. So here's to the future of the Shardowns, and thank you for tuning in.